So before I continue with this video, I just want to give a heads up, because starting from this video on through the next few videos, they're being pre-recorded pretty much at the same time. So today and tomorrow I'll record maybe 2 or 3 videos because I'm getting put in a cast. And because of me getting put in a cast, I cannot access this room, which requires me to climb a flight of stairs, and that's something hard to do when you're in a cast. So I'll probably be shifting to a different room. So yeah, I might not be able to record any more new videos after these few that I recorded. So yeah, just a heads up that I'm pre-recording a few of these videos for future video ideas that I have in my head, including this one. So a few months ago, I made a video calling Dragon Ball Z fans toxic. And that is because I was just mad at how they were sort of criticizing Dragon Ball Daima, because it wasn't exactly criticism, it was basically hating on Dragon Ball Daima. Because there can be criticism labeled at DB Daima, but these guys were they just only like Dragon Ball Z. Like, not even old Dragon Ball or GT or Super or even the new Dragon Ball Daima, but Dragon Ball Z, only Dragon Ball Z. So I called out these fans because at the time Dragon Ball Daima was still airing and it was still kind of fleshing out what it was going to be. And these guys were just incredibly toxic, incredibly hateful towards the series, even though it is the final Dragon Ball series that Akira Toriyama worked on. On top of that, I also put Dragon Ball Daima in my top 10 list for anime from last year, even before it concluded, because it just took me back to older Dragon Ball. And now, with the conclusion of Dragon Ball Daima, I can safely say that Akira Toriyama has beautifully sealed his legacy when it comes to Dragon Ball. Now, before I continue with this video, if you like anime content, please consider liking this video and subscribing, and check out the description because I have an anime playlist. Anyway, back to the video. So yes, when Dragon Ball Daima initially came out, a lot of people were unsure of how to feel about it because it was kind of retreading something that we had already seen before. So just to go over the plot of Dragon Ball Daima for the 3rd time. So Dragon Ball Daima pretty much takes place right after our Z fighters have just defeated Majin Buu, and there is a new Demon King who replaces Dabra by the name of Goma. And Goma comes to Earth, he gathers Earth's Dragon Balls and wishes for our fighters to be turned into kids. And Goku and Ko being turned into kids is not something new. In Dragon Ball GT, it was just Goku who was turned into a kid, but we've seen this before where adult Goku with all his powers is turned into a kid, and that became a big point of contention because it felt like they were retreading old ground. On top of turning the Z fighters into kids, Goma has also kidnapped Dende, so that means now our heroes have to journey to the Demon Realm, a new realm, in order to, one, rescue Dende, but also collect the Demon Realm Dragon Balls in order to wish themselves back to normal. So with exploring this new world, this new realm, you can really see where Akira Toriyama is kind of going back to how Dragon Ball started, where it was an adventure to gather the Dragon Balls in order to make a wish. We follow Goku and Supreme Kai, who are aided by a demon named Glorio, in order to gather the Demon Realm Dragon Balls, because that would be sort of the fastest way that they can achieve their target of either getting back to their former selves, aging themselves back up, or rescuing Dende. And with that, Akira Toriyama kind of builds this new realm out. So the Demon Realm is split into 3 different sections. The lowest or highest, because I think, yeah, the 3rd Demon World is like the outside of a world, and then inside is the 2nd, and then within that is the 1st, like a Matryoshka doll. So yeah, you start at the 3rd Demon World and then you move down in towards the 2nd and then the 1st. It kind of builds out how these worlds are different, and that's where Akira Toriyama has incredible strength in, because he's pretty good at this world building shtick, isn't he? Like, it isn't the greatest world building. This is not One Piece level world building, but it's world building that's fun. It gives us locations that are, I would say, somewhat memorable, but also characters, sort of side characters that we meet, these what you consider NPCs in video games. So these side characters that Goku and the gang meet that kind of flesh out the world a little bit. Because in addition to Glorio, we also meet Panji, who is a princess of the 3rd Demon Realm, who joins our crew, and we get a bit of backstory on the Supreme Kais, who are actually Glins, creatures from the Demon Realm, who are born from trees. But also we get a backstory on Namekians, because as it turns out, Namekians used to live in the demon realm before they moved out into the human realm. Because Namekians were kind of abused for their magical abilities, because Namekians were the one that created the Dragon Balls. And in Daima, there is this old Namekian who still lives in the Namek region of the demon realm called Neva, and he's the creator of the demon realm Dragon Balls, as well as the Tamagachi? Sorry, the Tamagamis. Wow, that's embarrassing. Yeah, the Tamagamis who guard the Dragon Balls. And these Tamagamis are incredibly powerful, so it would take only a strong warrior to defeat them in order to get their hands on a single Dragon Ball. Oh yeah, there are only 3 Dragon Balls in the Demon Realm, so this is not such a long hunt for 7 Dragon Balls, since we only have 3 for each level of the Demon Realm, and each of them are guarded by a Tamagami who gets progressively stronger. Also, Akira Toriyama kind of uses Dragon Ball Daima to kind of retcon a little bit of the things that he did for Dragon Ball, and it also kind of acts like this big link between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, because we get Piccolo in Dragon Ball and he's known as Demon King Piccolo, but then it turns out he's just an alien. But not really, because he's actually from the demon realm, so Piccolo is actually a demon, and it starts to make sense. Yes, it's a retcon, but it's a retcon that kind of works. On top of that, it also retcons something that then doesn't mesh well with Super, in which it shows that Supreme Kai and Kibito have split, even though they fused using the Potara, and as it turns out, it's due to something in Majin Buu's stomach that causes the Potara fusion to expire, and that also explains why Vegito's fusion expired at that time. So that's another retcon they made. So Akira Toriyama really used Dragon Ball Daima to kind of make the flow from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z a little bit smoother. And that's why when it comes to canon, oh my god, because the canon of Dragon Ball is now all sorts of messed up. But I choose to take a very simple approach. I approach Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super, and Dragon Ball Daima as 3 different timelines. Yes, they are canon in the sense that there are multiple timelines. And that kind of makes sense for Dragon Ball, because with the Cell Saga, with Trunks coming from the future of a different timeline, we get to see that this is a possibility, and that is again expanded upon in Super with multiple different universes. So I choose to view these 3 series as separate continuities. So we have Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and then pick whichever the 3 is your favorite. But yeah, when it first started airing with this sort of kid Goku and more focus on exploration and kind of being a very fun show, instead of being this serious battle shonen with muscle-bound freaks, it really pissed off that Dragon Ball Z community, who just showered it with hate, calling it the worst Dragon Ball ever, even though it is pretty damn clean. The fights in this is pretty damn clean. Like I mentioned it in the Toxic video and my top 10 video, is that the animation, Toei has really stepped up. The animation has, like, they are doing great with One Piece, and they did great with Dragon Ball Daima. Yes, some of the stylization is a little bit different, but when you're going from different key animators, lead animators, you're going to get a little bit of a different change in style. A different lead character designer will kind of change up the models a little bit, but it's not too far to the point where these characters are unrecognizable. And the chibi versions of these characters still represent who they are. You can tell Goku is Goku, you can tell Vegeta is Vegeta. But yes, it got a shitstorm of hate from these Dragon Ball Z fanatics, calling it the worst ever and just mocking the child thing, and how Dragon Ball GT is the true one or Super is the true one, and this is the worst work from Akira Toriyama, and kind of stepping on the legacy of someone who had just recently passed away. But then a few things happened that I hope would shut these people up. It won't really shut them up. They'll still give Daima shit, but a few things happened that shut up definitely a few of the naysayers. The first thing is Vegeta. Vegeta went Super Saiyan 3. Yes, it was in his chibi form, but Vegeta went Super Saiyan 3, and that was one of the most hyped episodes of Dragon Ball Daima at that point. But you know what's the biggest thing that happened in Dragon Ball Daima? That basically, one thing for fans of GT It was a godsend, I would say, but also kind of sealed Akira Toriyama's legacy when it comes to Dragon Ball. And it's that. Did you see that? That sealed Akira Toriyama's legacy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Akira Toriyama brought back Super Saiyan 4. And in my personal opinion, I would have liked to see maybe a separate transformation. But at the same time, when I found out Goku went Super Saiyan 4, I lost my shit. I was supremely hyped. Yes, the design for this Super Saiyan 4 is a bit different from GT, so there is enough of a differentiation there, but this is what... We didn't even know we wanted this. I didn't even know I wanted this, but I got it and I loved it. And Akira Toriyama, thank you very much. Toei also with the clean animation. When Goku first goes Super Saiyan 4 in his kid form, that is clean. But that final episode, when he changes back into an adult and transforms, goes through each of his transformations from Super Saiyan, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, all the way to Super Saiyan 4. That shit is epic. And that's mostly the reason why I'm making this video, is kind of the glaze on Akira Toriyama for giving us this. Yeah, I'm glazing all over the dude, man, but I mean, come on. The fans of GT, the fans of Dragon Ball, longtime fans of Dragon Ball, tell me you weren't hyped when you saw that. But that aside, there are also some criticisms that can be leveled at the series. It does get a little bit middling because it is an adventure, so some episodes feel a little bit like filler, where they're stopping where they don't need to stop, and the constant having to change planes because our last plane blew up is kind of a weakness. And also they teased fusion in one of the earlier episodes, and that never came to fruition. So yeah, no, it wasn't a Chekhov's gun, it was a Chekhov's whatever the fuck that was. But all in all, Dragon Ball Daima is a great addition to the Dragon Ball lore. It fucks up canon for people who are overtly concerned about what is canon and what is not, and how this is supposed to be canon, but how does it lead into Super? You know, if you keep doing that, you're not gonna have fun with it. But if you just view it the way I do, where it being 3 separate timelines, you can really have a good time with Dragon Ball Daima. In fact, Dragon Ball Daima is probably the best Dragon Ball has been since Dragon Ball Z. And I mentioned this in my top 10 video and in the Toxic Dragon Ball Z fans video, is that this really feels like Akira Toriyama poured his heart into this project. Compared to something like Super, which seemed really half-assed from him, this feels like he took the time to kind of fix the continuity between Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, while also giving the fans one last thing to just lose their minds about. And with that, I would just like to once again say thank you, Akira Toriyama, for bringing us this. Thank you for bringing back Super Saiyan 4. Thank you for making me feel like a kid again watching Dragon Ball Daima. Anyway, that's it from me regarding Dragon Ball Daima. Please let me know what you thought about Dragon Ball Daima in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video.